Hey guys, what's going on? My name's Steve. I'm a local disc golfer from Central Massachusetts. I wanted to do a quick in the bag video for you guys just so you could see what I'm going to be throwing this season. I've never made a video like this before. I figured I'd give it a shot. I hope you guys enjoy. I'm going to start with my putting putters. I currently am using the Discmania P2 D-line. All of them are 175 gram. When I started playing disc golf 2 years ago, this is the first putter I used. It was just really consistent out of my hand. I was able to find the chains the best with them. I tried a couple of other putters in between, and I always ended up coming back to the P2. So for now, I'm going to keep on putting with them. I have a distance driver that I'm going to go to before I get to the rest of my discs, because it's the only other disc in my bag other than putters that is not by Prodigy. I bought this disc because of the color and the stamp on it. It's by RPM Discs out of New Zealand. I thought it was a really pretty disc. It is a distance driver, but it throws, for me at least, more like a very overstable fairway driver. I can't quite get the distance out of it. I keep it in my bag right now because of the stamp and the color. It's not really a super functional disc in my bag, but I do tend to take it out quite a bit for like 300 foot, what would be fairway driver shots for me. I'm going to jump back to my throwing putters. I have two throwing putters. I have a 400 plastic Glow PA3. I think that this is the best throwing putter in the game. It's just understable enough to hyzer flip or throw flat and turn over. It's very, very consistent for me. I can flip it up to flat and it will just finish nice and straight without fading too hard at the end. The bead on the bottom makes it so as soon as it hits the ground, it stops and sticks right there. It's super accurate. I throw it for any downhill tee shots, anywhere between 200 and 225 feet. It's super reliable for hyzer flip to flat. It's super reliable for a turnover that just keeps on leaking to right. Really, really, really reliable disc for me off the tee for short tee shots. I also have a Seppo PA1. This disc I bought because of the stamp. I think that this is the coolest stamp on any disc in disc golf. I bought it more as a collector's piece, and I started throwing it in a field one day and decided that it needed to go in my bag right away. It's reliably overstable. I can release it on a hyzer. It's going to follow that hyzer line. I use it for the same distance, same type distance shots as my other throwing putter. However, I use this for more of the overstable level ground throws off of the tee, anywhere from 200 to 225 to 230 feet. Super, super reliably overstable. It doesn't really turn over. I can't quite get it to flip up, but that's what I'm looking for in an overstable throwing putter, is something that I'm not going to flip up. So I keep that in my bag. I'm really happy I bought it for the stamp. I'm really happy that it found its way into my bag. I have a Prodigy 400 plastic A3. Most guys you see making the bag videos, I think you'll see a lot of A2s. That's basically the beadless version of this disc. I really like the bead on my approach disc. It's super, super clean out of my hand for me, and I like the fact that the bead helps it to just kind of stick to the ground and lock in place when it hits. This is super reliable for a forehand approach. I use it on any approach shot really that's within 175 feet. It's super duper reliable. It's got a pretty good amount of dome to it, so it's nice and glidey. It just finds its mark every time. I can even throw it for like a spike hyzer. It won't tombstone because it's an approach disc, but on a spike hyzer it'll hit the ground and just stay. Super reliable for all approach shots, especially forehand ones. Mid-ranges, I currently bag a 4G M4. This thing is super duper understable. I can release this on a hard hyzer. It's going to flip all the way over and end up going to the right anyways. It's more of a get out of jail disc for me, so if I'm off the fairway and I need to throw a forehand roller, I'm grabbing for this to just pitch out back to the fairway. I keep it in my bag as a utility disc. My normal understable mid-range is a beat up 400 MX3. It's got the NutriShop stamp on it, which is a nutrition shop attached to a disc golf store in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. The disc golf store is called Disc Golf 978. I highly recommend you check them out if you're ever in the area. Owned by a really good group of people. They helped me out by giving me this disc for free. In addition to that, they helped themselves out because here I am advertising for them. I really like the beaded mid-range. I like the feel of it. It comes out of the hand super clean. This particular disc will hyzer flip to flat and just go nice and straight and finish straight. It doesn't have any fade left to it because it bounced it off of so many trees. It's not quite to the point where it's going to turn over and keep on going right, but if I release it on a hyzer, it's just going to finish nice and flat. I throw this disc for anything around like 260, 280 feet. Really, really reliable for those throws. I have a stable MX3. This is a brand new MX3. This disc will basically hold any line I put it on. If I throw it on an anhyzer, it's going to hold that anhyzer line. If I throw it flat, it's going to go flat and finish slightly to the left. If I throw it on a hyzer, it's going to follow that hyzer line. I throw this right around 250 to 265 feet. It's super reliable. It's super just stable. It's a neutral flight for me. I can release it on any angle I want. It's just going to follow that angle. It's super reliable for that. My overstable mid-range, I'm throwing a 4G M2. This is super duper overstable for me. I've had it for a long time. It's bounced off a lot of trees and it retains its overstability. It's pretty heavy. It's 180 grams. I can release this on a pretty good anhyzer, not a full anhyzer, but a pretty good anhyzer, and it's still going to fight its way back and finish left. It's super reliable. I use this disc for throws that are about 225 to 240 feet. The overstability just cuts down the distance a little bit for me. It's super reliable. I really like how it feels in the hand. I do like the MX3. I'm going to try to find a more overstable run of MX3 to replace this disc with, but for now this is my overstable mid-range. I'm going to switch over to fairway drivers. I've got a beat up 4G F3. This thing is super duper understable. It's a great woods disc. It shapes a line through the trees really good. I can release it on a pretty hard hyzer. It's going to flip and still give me a nice finish to the left after turning quite significantly to the right. I use it a lot for forehand shots. In the fairways specifically, I never throw this disc off of a tee. It's just too understable for most tee shots for me. But for forehand fairway shots, this is reliable. I can release it on an anhyzer and it's pretty much going to follow that for a while before finishing pretty straight. I really like this disc. I've had it for a while. It's gotten me out of a lot of trouble and back into the fairway more times than I can count when I go off. I have my very first Prodigy disc. This disc holds a special place in my heart. It's a 400 F2. It is beat up. It is really beat up. It's super duper flippy. It should probably come out of my bag, but I just don't have the heart to take it out of my bag because it's been in there since I started playing disc golf 2 years ago. This disc I can release on a nice hyzer. It's gonna flip. It's gonna keep flipping and flipping and flipping, and it's gonna end up finishing pretty hard to the right if it doesn't roll. It's more again of a nostalgia disc in my bag at this point. This disc though made me buy the next disc I'm going to show you, which is a brand new 400 F2. This disc is probably my go-to fairway driver. I can throw this anywhere between 280 and 330 foot drives. It's pretty reliable in the wind. It will turn over on a heavy wind, but if I release it on a nice hyzer, it usually will just flip to flat, go straight, and then reliably fade for me. It's a super comfortable disc to grip. The rim on it fits nicely in my hand for my power grip, so I actually throw this fairway driver instead of with a controlled grip. I'll throw it with a power grip. It's a super reliable disc. I think the F2 is probably my favorite fairway driver on the market right now. That said, I have a 750 F2 for my overstable fairway driver. This particular one is super overstable. I can only throw it somewhere around 270 feet because of how overstable it is. It hits that 250 mark and starts to break right away for me. Somebody with a higher arm speed would probably be able to obviously get it out a little bit further, but I use this a lot for headwind shots. I'll throw it even off the tee for headwind shots, just because I know it's not going to turn and go over. It's super, super controllable. I throw it for a lot of Spike Heiser shots. It's, like I said, it's a super duper overstable fairway driver for me, until it beats in a little bit. Once this beats in a little bit, we'll move it out and put in a brand new one. Just try to find that overstability for that range. Super, super cool feeling plastic. It's my only 750 plastic disc. I really like it. I think I'm going to have to upgrade some of my other ones. Hybrid drivers, I have an H3 V2. This disc is really, really solid for a straight forehand. I'll throw this on a straight forehand right around 320, 330 feet. It fades reliably, but not too hard at the end of its flight. It won't really flip up. It's pretty torque resistant. It's a very, very nice kind of neutral flying disc, which is really important where I play a lot of courses in the woods. It's really easy to shape a shot through the trees with this disc. If I release it on an Anheuser for a forehand, it's going to follow that a little bit, and then it will eventually finish itself off. Backhand, I do turn this disc over when I throw it backhand. I haven't quite figured out the release angle for it that works best for this disc, so it's strictly a forehand disc at the moment. But it's a super reliable forehand disc for tee shots. I have an H1 V2. This is another disc that primarily forehands for me. It is super overstable, but it will fly straight for a long time before finishing hard. It starts to break into its fade at about 280, 290 feet. And when it breaks hard. I can't stress that enough. It is backhand Spike Heiser. It is a forehand straight to hard finish. I use it for a lot of uphill shots, and I use it for a lot of get out of jail Spike Heiser shots. It comes off of a couple of tee pads at the course that I run in Phillipston, Mass. The uphill left to right shots, I will always grab this disc out of my bag and forehand it, because this is such a reliable fade at the end of this flight. It's gonna find its mark, it's gonna hit the ground, and it's gonna stop. There's very not much skip to this disc, so it's super reliable for that kind of shot. My distance drivers, I have a 500 Cat Allen X3. I really like this disc. I like how it feels in the hand. I don't ever give this a full power shot, so this is a distance driver that I throw around 330 feet. The reason that I don't give it full power is, for some reason, every time I try, it slips right out of my hand. I don't know if it's because the rim is a little bit narrower than your typical distance driver, and I'm not used to giving that much gas to a driver with a rim that's this small. But when I do get it and I get that snap to go just right, this disc flies forever. But I try not to push that too much, because I always misfire when I try to put too much. I love the feel of the 500 plastic. I love the stamp on it. I love the swirly plastic design that we got on there. It's a super pretty disc. It's super easy to find pretty much in all weather conditions. This disc is eventually, I think, going to be one of my longer range discs. It's just not quite there yet for me. I have my D3 Max. It's got a D1 Max stamp on it. This is my bomber. This disc comes out of my bag off the tee more than any of my other distance drivers. I can throw it far, I can throw it accurately, and I can control it super well. This is currently my longest flying disc. I can throw this disc, or I have thrown this disc 450 feet. I consistently throw it around 400. I'm starting to get towards that 420 mark with most of my distance drivers, which I'm really excited about, but this is the one that most consistently gets there. And I think it's just because it's the right amount of stability for my arm speed. It comes out on a Heiser, it flips up, it turns, and then it always finishes back. It's a nice straight disc, like it lands straight in front of me every time I throw it, because it just turns the right amount and then fades perfectly back to where I'm aiming. I call it a point and shoot. I know that's not the way to describe it, because it does turn, but this thing, for me, just it goes exactly where I aim it every time. Super reliable disc. I have a D2 Max. It's got slightly less turn and slightly less distance for me than my D3 Max. I use this more if I would use my D3 Max, but it were too windy, I will take out the D2 Max to combat the wind a little bit. If I got a strong headwind, it will turn about the same amount. It will finish just as hard as the D3 Max. If there's less of a headwind, it's a little bit more of an overstable flight. I really like this disc. It doesn't come out of my bag except for in those windy situations though. I have a 4G D1. This is my overstable distance driver. This thing I throw around 380 to 400 feet. It's a really, really reliable flight for me. It's beat in and it still retained its overstability. That's one of the great things about the 4G plastic. I can throw this reliably and it will reliably fade at the end of its flight no matter what. It flies super, super straight and then just dumps hard. And it's always been that way. I can if I release it on a nice hard hyzer, it's just gonna follow that hyzer line. If I release it flat, it's gonna go flat and then fade hard at the end. And if I release it on an anhyzer, it's gonna fight right back out of that anhyzer and end up hyzering out towards the end of its flight. Every time, reliably, it goes where I need it to go. It's a really, really nice disc in the hand. I love the feel of the 4G plastic. Even in the rainy weather, it retains its grip. Really good disc. I also have a D1 Max 400 glow plastic. This is a disc that I got for Christmas this year, and it instantly found a spot in my bag. It's a little bit more flippy than the 4G D1, but I can release this on a hyzer and it's gonna flip to flat and it's gonna go completely straight for a long time before hitting hard at the end. It's super reliable. I regularly put this out about 400 feet. It's a super reliable disc for those flip up to flat and still have reliable fade at the end without turning over too much. I bring it out in the wind a lot. For me, it's overstable enough to handle a headwind, but not too overstable on not windy day to keep in my bag. It's super, super reliable. I really like the flight of it. It's kind of a bummer in the wintertime. I can't really throw it without putting a ribbon on the bottom because it's white. White and snow don't get along. That said, in the springtime when the snow all melts, I think I'm going to throw this disc a lot. I think I'm going to really enjoy throwing this disc. In the practice field, I have some really, really great throws with it. So I'm interested to see what this season brings for my discs, the bag that I throw. That's everything I carry in it. I'm hoping within the next couple of weeks to switch over my putters to P Model S's. I'm interested in getting my bag 100% over to Prodigy as soon as I possibly can. So much so to the point where I have a BP2 that I keep my discs in. This bag is fantastic. I've had it for about 9 months. It's seen a couple over 100, 120 rounds of disc golf. There's not a single tear or wear mark on it. It still stays upright. The only sign that you can tell that it's a little old is that the sides fold in a little bit at the top. That's the only thing I don't like about this bag. I wish that the sides were a little bit more rigid. It's got a great place for an umbrella. It can hold 2 32-ounce Gatorades, and it can hold a long sleeve in each one of these pouches. They're actually big enough for me to put a sweatshirt into. This is a super good bag. I recommend if you're looking for a new bag, check out the BP2 or the BP2 V2 that just released. The V2 is water resistant and tear resistant. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. It was good talking to you. We'll catch you next time. Have a good season.